Good evening, YouTube. I'm now on chapter 30 of Innocence Travels, Innocent Diary of a King. And in this chapter is Who Can You Trust? I woke early in the morning. Everyone else was still asleep. They all seemed so calm, and I realized that this was the first time in a while that we could all rest our weary bodies together. We had no worries because these men were on our side and would alert us if there were any dangers. I was surprised to see the men helping us and not trying to hang us. I thought to myself that all their men were not evil. Some had to be guardian angels. I quickly lost that thought as the one called Lucas came into the building. He went and gently shook Odie and Cornelius. I could see in Odie's eyes that he did not fully trust these men either. There was an anxiousness on his face and in his movements. The man called Bobby told us that along the path that we were going to take, we would meet up with 5 more runaway slaves. All of them were men, and they also knew the path. Once we approached them, we would have to use a code word to let them know that we were sent this way by these men. Our code word was lumber, and one of the 5 runaways would ask us, how was the house built? And our remark would be, it was built with lumber from the redwood trees. Lucas also told us that we should be very careful when we met up with them. 4 of the runaways came from the same plantation, but one of them had suddenly appeared on the road as they passed by. Lucas said that the men felt very uneasy about that man. There was known that some of the evil men would send a spy to try and lead the runaways down the wrong path, which would lead them back to their master's place. Only the 4 of them knew the code word, so be very careful and stay away from the possible spy. We all got together and went over our plans together. We also discussed how we would handle the so-called spy. In my heart, I never would believe that one of our own would be so evil as to cause us to be captured and return to the very same life that we were trying to escape. But I remember some of our people helping the evil men load us onto those big ships. So I knew to never let down my guard for nobody. Anything and everything was possible in this evil land of the evil men. We decided that only Cornelius would do the code word and would ask who the one that knew it was. Order would then take that person aside and ask him in private. We would do this with each one of them. We were hoping that the one who was the spy would get anxious and give himself away. We had gone now about 5 miles when we noticed movement just beyond the road. We still had our sharp sticks, but did not want to fight with our sticks against the long guns. Once we had made it to the place where we would see movement, one of the men came out. He greeted us. He asked from which direction we came. We told him that it was right along the white folks' village. He then asked, how was the house built? Odie then took the man by the arm and said that he would only answer that question in secrecy. The man said that that was okay. After they had spoken, the 2 of them returned. Odie nodded an okay sign, then gestured for another man to follow him. He called on the man who had joined the others on the road and walked a distance from us. Odie then returned, and he had an odd look on his face. It was obvious that this man had the code as well. What was going on? We remember the man telling us that this man was from a different master's place. If that was the case, how did he know the secret code? This made us all very jumpy. We had a snake in our midst and did not know which one of these men would bite us. Odie only answered those 2 men. He never asked all of them. After a while, we all gathered in a different circles, and Miss Ruthie said that she did not like the looks of any of these men. She said she had a feeling deep down in her gut that scared her. She said that we shouldn't trust any of them. I felt the same way. We ate well that evening and was able to get in another night of peaceful sleep. The next morning would find us with more energy. I guess the feeling of being safe because of our numbers gave our body the comfort that it needed. At sunrise, we all were wakened by the man named John. He had a look of excitement on his face. As I looked around, the other three men had the same look. Suddenly, a chill ran down my back and I had to calm myself. I looked over to the others of our group and they happened to have the same unsettling look on their faces. Something was wrong, and I mean wrong. I asked my question to Odie and the rest, saying, which one was the spy? I got no answer, but their looks took the guessing out of my question. We were all on high alert. Odie, Cornelius, and I all felt the same tension, and we gathered together and whispered to each other. We had to prepare ourselves for the worst. We thought about the men and the warning they had given us. Were they a part of this scheme? Were we being driven into the evil man's net? Then Henry asked, why don't we just go on by ourselves? That question made a lot of sense, plus that was the one way to flush out the spy of spies, whichever it was. We needed to have a good plan of attack, especially if all were involved in trapping us. Cornelius said that he could take two of the men down. There were five of them, but three of them were about my size. I did not consider myself a big man, only adequate. I felt that we could all take on all of them, but we needed the element of surprise. Our group and the other five men got together around a small fire that we had made and began discussing our route and our strategy if we came upon some of the evil men. Odie took our drawings and pointed to an area that showed us being able to reach the other lake. That we would have to cross and to be finally finished with the evil man on this side once we made it to the river. Then a man named Ben began to speak. He said that the drawing that we had were old drawings. The whole area had been changed. The river that we were looking at on our map was showing to be in the wrong place. He said that we should be heading southwest away from the large forests and hills. I looked at Odie and inside I knew what he was thinking. If we headed southeast, that would take us on the other side of the hills where the large clearings were. We would be heading right into Master's trap. Cornelius and I asked the question at the same time, and the questions were the same. How could that direction be the right way to go? What was Ben thinking? At that moment, I could not trust anyone but Odie. From this point on, I would sleep with one eye open. I could not afford a mistake, not at this point in time. I was too close, much closer than I knew, but I would only find that out if we did away with our spies. All of them, everyone. Next chapter 31 would be a spy in our midst. Thank you.